Today is an exciting day. We are creating a new pollinator garden. I am removing some of the lawn and switching it out for flowers, which isn't that what we all want to do? As exciting as that process is, it's also sometimes a little bit scary because there are so many decisions to make. What kind of perennials? What kind of shrubs? What do I want it to look like? How is the space going to come together? Is it going to come together? How big should I make it? Is there something that I'm missing that might cause a problem later down the road that I'm going to regret? I don't know, maybe it's just me, but those are all the things that go through my head. So I want to walk you through step by step how I think about creating a new garden space. And hopefully if you're adding to your garden, this might help you and simplify the process and make it a little bit easier. So before we think about plants, we need to figure out how big of a space we want to create and what's the overall shape going to look like. So for that, I love using hoses, especially these soaker hoses, because they're really light, they're easy to lay out and play with, and look from different angles and really think about the edge before you commit to it. So as I'm laying out this soaker hose and trying to figure out the shape of the bed, let's talk through a couple of tips that I've learned. And it's more like learn the hard way kind of tips. So when you're designing a bed, it might be tempting to just do a thin and narrow bed and add just, a row of something. And that's a really great way to start. So for me, what I've learned is that it's actually easier to plan out a wider bed, at least 3, 4, 5 feet. That way you have enough space for a shrub in the background and then some perennials up front, or some taller perennials in the back and shorter perennials up front. The more layers you can add to a space, the more interesting that space is to your eye, and it just flows together better. Another tip that I've learned the hard way is thinking about the curves. So in a garden space in general, unless you're creating a very modern garden, curves are going to be your best friend. Straight rows is something that I did as a beginner because it's easy, like put them all in a row and you're done. But if you can add some sort of curve or bump to it, it looks more beautiful. But also with curved lines, you need to think about your mower and the edge that you're leaving for your mower. So if your curve is too sharp, you're going to struggle and have to rearrange your mower and finagle it, and you're gonna hate yourself. So one thing, I'm gonna lay this out and then I'm going to run across with the mower and make sure that I can take the curve with the mower with one turn and I'm not struggling, so that edge isn't annoying all summer as I'm mowing the lawn. And then the rest of the tips are really tips for planning out any garden space, not just a new garden space. So in my Atlanta garden, everything is clay soil, so I'm always going to be looking for clay soil tolerant plants because they just thrive here better, and I'm a low maintenance hands-off gardener, so I want to make sure whatever I'm planting can grow on its own. Besides that, I find the most important thing is figuring out the sun conditions, and there's a really great app, I'll put it in the description, that I use to figure out how many hours an area will get during the growing season. So not just right now, but past months and then future summer months, because the sun does change position in the sky. And depending on where it's going and what trees are in the line, the hours of sun in one bed may change over the growing months. So this area is full sun, and I think it's going to be perfect for a pollinator bed. It's right in front of our veggie garden, so it'll bring in all the additional pollinators and help our veggie garden thrive more. But that's me in my space. The important thing is for you to consider how you want to use your space. So things that I think about are, where am I going to walk through? So in that space, I'm going to need some stepping stones or some sort of walkway so that I can get from the garden area to the lawn. Walkways give your eye not only somewhere to go, but they're also very functional because they get you from one place to another. Another thing you might want to add to your garden is a water feature. This is probably one of my favorite things that I added to the garden. It took me a long time to get this space. Water features are expensive, and I added this only last year, and it's absolutely one of my favorite things that we added to the garden. And maybe I needed to look up a thesaurus before talking about my water feature, but I have really enjoyed it. This is right off my patio, and it's visible from our living room and also our kitchen, and it's pretty much one of the first things that you see when you come in and out the back door. And that's how I recommend thinking about water features, putting it in a place where you're either sitting or you're walking by, or you see it from multiple windows or views. That will give you the maximum enjoyment of your water feature investment. Another thing you might want to consider adding to your garden is seating. I might have gone a little bit overkill. We've got 3 benches in our garden and also a swinging hammock. I really love creating those spaces where you can sit down and enjoy your garden. It's my favorite place to have coffee, and I will admit, I added them to the garden with the thought that I would just sit and relax and enjoy, but it's also a really good vantage point for finding weeds. So a lot of the time, my coffee mugs tend to collect around garden benches throughout the season, but I did learn something important about placing a garden bench that I want to tell you about so you don't make the same mistake I did. If you've seen previous garden videos, you've seen me sitting on this bench, but in a different location. And that is because we recently removed it. And in fact, I vividly remember my husband telling me when we first placed the garden bench that I was making a mistake, but I didn't want to listen because, you know, that's how marriage works. But we moved this. And the reason we moved this was because this bench was previously in a full sunspot. And it's definitely miserable here, even sometimes in the springtime in the afternoon in a full sunspot. So what I would recommend is that if you are adding benches or seating areas to your garden, think about how much sun that area is going to get. This bench could probably fry an egg in its old location in the afternoon, but now it's located under the shade of a crepe myrtle. It gets morning sun and afternoon shade. I guess the perfect spot to grow hydrangeas is also the best place to add a bench. So to recap, we talked about adding in garden curves. We talked about making a bed wider than you think instead of narrow because it's easier to design around and add layers. We talked about planting for your conditions and figuring out how much sun you get in a space. And we've talked about different features you might want to consider adding to your space before breaking ground. But now it's time to sweat. Let's talk about how we remove sod and prep a new garden space for planting. When it comes to removing grass to start a new garden space, I will say that I am currently doing my least favorite method. My most favorite method is a method called sheet mulching, and I have other videos on my channel about that. It's quite simply laying down cardboard or newspaper, and that is going to smother and kill the grass over time. On top of that, we're adding compost and then mulch so that you're not staring at newspaper or cardboard. And honestly, it works like a charm, and it is my favorite method to use because you're not breaking your back removing sod. If I'm planting a larger space, I always go with the sheet mulching method. And it's very easy to do if you're just planting shrubs because shrubs have larger plant spacing. In this space, I'm planting a ton of perennials, and perennials are planted much closer together. So sheet mulching is a lot harder, and that is why I'm breaking my back removing the sod. I like to remove the sod little by little. This sod gets removed a couple of stripes at a time whenever I have a moment. I like to use the edger to cut into little squares and then go underneath and scoop up the sod. If you cut your sod like little squares, you're also able to reuse it to fill in any bald spots that you might have in the garden. That's how I remove grass without buying a sod cutter. Maybe you found a better way, and I'd love to hear it in the comments. Although every single time I remove sod, I say I'm never doing this again, but you know how it goes. I probably will be doing this again. As a bonus, I will leave you with one final tip, and that is how I plant in clay soil. And I would say that I have an extreme case of clay soil because we completely leveled this property. We originally moved in and we had a slope starting from one side of our property and running all the way down. And we regraded everything so that we would have a level lawn and a space to add a playground for our kids. But in regrading the property, we lost all of our topsoil. So when I say I have Georgia red clay, it is the heaviest of Georgia red clay. So on top of sticking with plants that tolerate clay soil, I also want to show you how I add compost and amend the soil prior to planting, because I found doing this helps me lose less plants and it helps get the plants off to the best start. Basically, the process would be much easier if I rented a tiller, or I think we might actually have a battery powered tiller. But when you're amending the soil in a small space, it's honestly not that bad to go in with your shovel. I am adding maybe 2 to 3 inches of compost, and then I'm going down about a shovel's deep to pick up the soil and mix it in. If I'm planting some finicky plants that I know require really good drainage, which I tend not to do as much these days, but if I was doing that, I would also add a product called permatil. Permatil is basically a rocky gravel substrate, and it's a permanent way to add drainage to a space. Compost over time will break down in a garden space, and in a couple of years, if I don't keep adding compost and mulch on top, I will likely find a pretty heavy, dense clay soil in this spot. It's going to take years to fully transform the soil here unless you're raising the grade by almost creating a mini raised bed in this space. I could pile up a rock border or another type of border and really add in multiple inches, but I'm okay with improving the soil in this bed little by little over time. Honestly, I don't think that's necessary. I find that even in my crazy clay soil, top dressing with compost and mulch does the job just fine. But the permatil, it doesn't break down. Rocks take a lot longer to break down. So if you are really struggling with a spot, you might want to consider adding something like permatil to help keep the soil broken down over a longer period of time than you would get with just compost. So this is part 1, things to consider when starting a bed and how to create a new bed. In part 2, I'm going to share with you an easy resource. I don't know if we can call it a hack, but it's an amazing resource that's completely free, doesn't require a login or anything, that really cuts down the analysis paralysis that I get when I'm trying to pick plants. So if you're still watching this video to the end, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I will see you in the next video.